Hi, everybody. Today we're talking about how to discuss memory loss with a spouse and within your family. This video is in response to spouses and adult children who have been asking, how do we talk about these important issues in the family and be comfortable talking about the issues? I'm Pamela D Wilson. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. On there are a lot of hope, help, and support for caregivers and aging adults, online courses, videos, podcasts, articles, and more. Please press the share button on this video. Share it with other people that you know who are looking for hope, help, and support. So just a little forewarning here. This is going to be an unusually difficult conversation for people who are not really familiar about how dementia or memory loss progresses over a long period of time and what it does to marital relationships and relationships with adult children who are helping one parent care for another. Because this is a topic that is not usually discussed. In fact, it's rarely discussed, which is why we're going to have the discussion. So caregivers are asking how to have these conversations about love and relationships and how the healthy spouse can continue to go on with their life while being committed to care for a spouse who has dementia. So let's begin with just like love and companionship and relationships. We all crave them. We all want them. We want to be in love. We want to have people that we love, people that love us. Love makes the world go round, right? But in caregiving situations, when you are that primary caregiver and you're the person who's giving and giving and giving, and the person that you're caring for has an illness like dementia or Alzheimer's, eventually they can't give back. So it's almost like you have this very lopsided relationship, right? This person is giving everything, and because of illness or cognitive impairment or physical disability, this person can't give anything. So in a sense, a healthy person, hopefully healthy, taking care of a very disabled person who at some point may not even recognize that this person, this man or woman, is their husband or their wife. They may think that they're somebody else. And so over time, what happens with dementia is that the spouse with dementia has more difficulty with word finding or remembering things or doing daily activities. So the caregiving spouse is organizing a lot of these activities, a lot of sleepless nights, long days, feeling frustrated because this person that you used to do everything with can't participate anymore. So you're experiencing a lot of grief and a lot of loss. And this dementia journey or Alzheimer's journey, in some cases, it's very quick. For example, if it's frontotemporal dementia or something else, but in other cases, it can last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So you've got this long path ahead of you where your relationship is going to significantly change with this person that you're caring for. And so recognizing this and accepting that it's going to happen, even though if it hasn't yet, is the reason that talking very openly and honestly about dementia care and your fears and what it involves and accepting how the relationship will change is very important, not only for spouses, but for adult children who are the caregivers. Now, as an adult child, it's hard to put yourself in the place of your parents as caregivers if you're not yet in that situation yourself. So what we find is many adult children don't understand and they don't empathize with the parent who's the caregiver because they just don't get it, right? So think of this. If your spouse died tomorrow, whether you're this spousal caregiving relationship where your spouse has dementia or whether you're an adult child who's married, if your spouse died tomorrow, what would you want for that spouse? Would you want them to like grieve for you the rest of their life and be miserable and be very unhappy? Or would you want your spouse really to like go on and be happy and get married again and have their life and enjoy things, okay? Now I realize death is very definitive. One day you're here, the next day you're gone, and life changes like that. Dementia is kind of like this long, slow grieving process, this long death that sometimes the person is lost before they're actually dead. And what I mean by that is the relationship has changed. They don't know who their husband or wife is anymore. They may not recognize you as their children. They're living, but they're in a world of their own that you can't even imagine what it's like. And so life changes. Caregiving responsibilities result in burnout, health declines for the healthy caregiver, a lot of losses and trade-offs if that caregiver doesn't find a way to maintain their own life. So they give up activities. They're tied to the house 24/7. They don't sleep at night. Eventually, what can happen is the 24/7 situation can be unsustainable. The spouse has to take care of their health because it's declining. They're not sleeping at night. So the family should consider what happens if the mom or dad with dementia or the spouse has to go into a care community. What does life look like then? And in many of these cases, it's a hard decision because everybody feels guilty about doing this, but overall, it's better for the caregiver who may have a lot of health issues and a lot of stuff going on with their life. So here's the question to think about. If you're the spouse with dementia or the person with dementia, would you be okay if you can no longer participate in that relationship with your spouse going out and finding a companion or a love relationship, provided that they still took care of you? And I'm going to share a real life example. So years ago, I counseled a married couple who agreed that, we're committed to each other. We're going to take care of each other until we die. But if something happens where I have dementia or Alzheimer's and I can't participate in a relationship, I am okay with my spouse finding companionship and love somewhere else as long as I'm still cared for and provided for. Now, that can be a trust issue, right? Because you're thinking, well, I'm agreeing that my spouse can go do this, but what if they forget about me? What if they leave me alone? So it really does depend on the quality of your relationship. If you can have these conversations and trust that your spouse is going to care for you. So in this situation, the wife moved to a memory care community because it was better for her. Meals, activities, bathing, getting the care that she needed, and actually doing this early enough so she could establish some friendships and some relationships with people in that community. The husband, who continued to live in his home, found a companion, and they together became caregivers for his wife, which was a blessing, and it was actually a positive thing in both of their lives. Now, the children at first had a little bit of difficulty with this because they're like, well, Dad, you're still married to Mom, and here you're out having this relationship. But it's like, what, kids? Your mom and I talked about this. We agreed that one life shouldn't be sacrificed for another life, provided that I still provide for her and I still care for her and I still make sure that she receives care. So adult children can have a struggle with this. The other interesting thing is that many times people with dementia or Alzheimer's who live in care communities may find a companion there or someone else. And it's not quite like, a marital relationship, although it could be, but children are watching their parent with dementia establish relationships with people in their own world in a dementia care community. And it can be a good thing because imagine the comfort that your parent with dementia feels by having this friend or this person that they can sit with and hold hands with, even if it's not the person that they're married to. So these are very tricky family discussions about the progression of dementia and how relationships change and all of that. And there's a lot of grieving that goes on, right? The person with dementia is grieving and is fearful of, gosh, I'm losing my memory. I can't control my life. What if my family doesn't take care of me? And the caregiver is grieving, gosh, I'm losing my husband or wife, my companion of so many years. I'm losing the ability to do all these activities. Somehow I need to maintain my identity outside of being a caregiver. And whether you're in a spousal caregiving relationship or you're an adult child caring for a parent, these are conversations that you should also have. Does the person who needs care really expect you to give up your identity and your life and your career and your family and time with your children to care for them. And in some situations, in some cultures, elderly parents do expect that. Spouses do expect that. But it's not like that across the board. This is a very gray area that is unexplored and not talked about, which is why I'm doing this video, because it's something that we should all talk about in our lives, and well in advance of the caregiving need, well in advance of a diagnosis of dementia, although many times it's these health changes that bring up these conversations, and they can be very uncomfortable discussions, but they support family cohesiveness. They support children knowing what their parents want. They support balance in caregiving relationships. They help avoid a lot of toxic relationships and children disagreeing about the care of their parents and spouses pitting children against each other. We have to realize that caregiving relationships are complicated and they have the potential to cause a lot of family conflict and division and people not talking to each other. And so that's why having these conversations, regardless of what's going on, is so important. Thanks for staying with me for this video. I know it's a challenging topic. Again, I'm Pamela D Wilson, a caregiving expert. Please visit my website. There are lots of helpful articles in my library, articles in my blog, my podcast, The Caring Generation, hundreds of these videos here on YouTube. Please press the share button so that we can encourage families as a unit to have these conversations. I'll see you all again soon in another video.